welcome to the Week 9 edition of MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. My name is Tim Wood. Back with us today, Bill Bryant.
In the house.
Triumphant return. How are you?
I'm great. I'm just amazed every week you remember what week it is.
Right?
If you asked me 30 seconds before, I would have, I don't know.
Yeah. Like, well, only because I'm doing up the stats in the morning, and I got it on the brain. So a big night once again. So it happened, Lou. Lou Blassie behind the glass. 9:50. It's been 9. You know, we've called him 957. Hector Longo.
Yep.
He's earned the nickname 957.
That's his jersey number.
Yep. Zip code, jersey number. Hector has officially become tardy today.
Okay.
He is going to be present, I believe.
All right.
I believe, unless we shamed him on the text, on the three-way text last night.
I hope not, because it was just mean all around.
Yes, it was.
So if he's getting all, soft on us now, and he better have a pass from the dean.
I would think.
Being in education, if he shows up without a pass.
Well, Bill found out last week. Everybody found out what happens when you don't show up.
Exactly.
For the show, so.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although even without Bill here, Bill still got a shout out from a kid about his abnormally excellent coaching ability.
A non-Methuen kid.
Yeah.
All right, so I do have the list of things I'm going to dispute regarding getting kicked out.
Really? We're going back?
Thrown out.
Yep.
All that.
Okay, what do you got?
It's just not true.
All right.
The name that I'll take is Rick Gorman, who is just a guru of basketball. Runs the North Andover Youth Center. His advice to me early on was, you are an absolute grinder. You need to knock it off. And that took me another 4 years to really shed that, but never been thrown out. Never, ever, ever in basketball. Football, I had one little hiccup early on. Other than that, never as a parent, never been thrown out. So
now,
and this should get towns like Billerica, Drake, Chelmsford calling in and disputing that, but I'll argue that all day long.
The whole grinder, it can have so many different meanings.
Joel said it best.
Was that a good grinder? Good grinder?
No, not at all.
All right.
I'm passionate.
Yeah.
So, but no, Rick's thing was, you grind the refs, knock it off, just coach, and be a good role model, and do what you have to do to get the kids better, and don't focus on the refs. And that was something as I grew up and got older.
Solid advice.
Phenomenal advice.
So, listen, a huge week. I mean, the MVC just keeps representing Central with another gigantic win last night. A guy, 27 wins in a row for Everett. They knocked Central out. Here he is, folks. 9:57 turns into 10:03. We thought that we shamed him off the three-way text last night, but here he is.
I did say I want to see the pass from the dean.
Yeah. What do you got?
Were you in the principal's office?
52 years in the Merrimack Valley. Still can't maneuver the roads.
You guys weren't out reserving your Christmas tree at the Christmas tree farm in Haverhill?
That's what it was.
Like it was today, a little bit bigger of a crowd than usual, and that was that. It's usually my wife and my son, but he's at college, so somebody had to fill in, and just couldn't make it on time.
Christmas tree on November 3rd, really?
Brother,
that's how it
So
happens?
Lou, you called it. You said he would use the family card, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
did. And
I didn't say that.
you reserve it.
I would have.
I read your mind.
I would have, yeah.
That was
not beyond me, but
that was the nicest thing that Lou said.
that's not
It
true.
happens. What are you going to do?
That's not true. Listen, I can get enough trouble
What are
for
you
the
gonna do?
things I actually say.
It's true.
Yes.
Yes.
I've been late my whole life. I'm not going to change now. Let me tell you
Right?
that, right? Honest to God. So,
He's been late his whole life, and he's still a Hall of Famer. Hector Longo on the show.
good morning, all.
So, you got here just in time as we started talking about Central. Goliath knocks off the Goliath.
Yeah, this was a giant upset. I wouldn't call it Goliath versus Goliath.
I wouldn't call it Davy, though.
No. Central's obviously a Super 8-ish kind of squad if they had a Super 8 in football.
But 27 straight wins for
Consistently.
Everett, two straight times knocked out of the playoffs by him, and they played a phenomenal game.
Look, I think the one word you call to mind immediately is discipline.
Yes.
Central's a disciplined program under Chuck year in, year out. They play, it's not flawless football, but they don't make a ton of mistakes, and they don't hurt themselves. And they hung around, and once Everett kind of shot itself in the foot with a couple of the tough plays, they pounced on it. Good for them,
Let me ask you this, though.
Good.
Central was down, supposed to be a down year. Obviously, I keep saying it, and they have depth. They have kids from all over Mass and New Hampshire, so they have good athletes coming from other places to come play here. So that allows you to have that discipline. Chuck's a great coach for a long, long time.
See, and this is where your argument kills me.
No. Let me. It shows how good North Andover is this year. Was my point.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's where I was heading. Is North Andover?
North Andover belongs in Division I this year.
Absolutely,
they're a legit Division I
Absolutely.
team. But I do want to circle back to that argument about Central. Yes, they get athletes from every town, around the area. But don't they have legit, similar enrollment numbers to everybody else? I mean, isn't their enrollment basically the same as everyone else?
But I mean, it's not about enrollment, though.
Why isn't it though, Tim? Because it's different. I mean,
it's public versus private.
That's a whole different argument here.
I mean, that is the core of it.
Okay, but but I don't think enrollment numbers are the core of it. Now, public versus private, that's one thing. They don't play by the same rules. You want to tell me about they don't have to go to school 180 days? They don't have to.
I'm not going there. What I'm talking about.
And that's
let me say this, just so because it was first. I was talking about depth.
Yeah.
I was talking about having good athletes enroll in the school and come in. I don't want to get into a discussion about Central after a huge win.
Because this isn't the day for it. Honestly, after a huge win, the kids deserve the focus today because they played their butts off. Listen, like you said, and I'll be interested to hear. We're going to have Coach Chuck Adamopoulos on. Hopefully, have AJ Caginelli on from Central. I'm going to be interested to hear from Coach because everything that I saw last night, this was not Everett having a bad game. Everett had one really bad screw up. The quarterback, I don't know what he was throwing to. He completely overthrew his guy. Lefebvre was just like, okay, thank you.
All right, but they had the personal foul to the extent.
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely.
So if I didn't get to where I was going in the correct way, I'll admit that. My point, I mentioned it to Tim this morning, was...
No, you weren't wrong.
Yeah.
What?
You weren't wrong.
North Andover handled Central pretty well early in the season. Yeah. And even though it was like 14-7, it was pretty dominating. And here they are in Division II, and they're rolling, but they dominated a team that just beat a team that won 27 straight games and is pretty dominating, throughout the state year in and year out.
Yeah, look, I think the Eastern Mass football sits a little stunned. Like, nobody expected Everett to lose right now. Everybody had them penciled in for Foxborough and the big Zavarian Everett matchup. Look.
Oh, well.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, I think the bottom line is that Elite Eight type of thing, and most of them are private schools, Tim, for athletics. Pick a sport, baseball, hockey. Most of them are, it was Everett, Zavarian, St. John's. Central belongs with all those teams. Now, that's the thing. That's all I was saying is,
But this argument in terms of making football like baseball and hockey, in terms of this next level of Super 8, that could solve a lot of this.
Oh God, please, Tim, don't add another division.
I'm just saying.
But you could drop off about 5 of the other divisions.
But they're not going to drop off any divisions, Bill. That's the problem. They're going to make it a Super 8 plus 8, and it's like, no, I don't even want to entertain that idea right now. I'm sorry that North Andover's not in Division 1. It's too bad.
No, I don't think they. I mean,
but I'm just saying it would be great to see them in the Division 1 mix.
Right.
But please, no more divisions. I can't. No more. I surrender. The 8 the 8 divisions is flat out laughable.
It's crazy.
But I liked hearing from the coach from North End, Dubinsky, talking about how they went to Central and asked. We wouldn't have known that if the show didn't ask that. So it's not like they're hiding in Division 2.
Nope.
No.
They're playing anyone and anyone.
Yeah.
And by the way, Drake's not hiding in Division 4. Drake will take on anybody.
Bill Rick is the same way.
And listen, so we'll get to all the stats and everything everything. Nick Mazzy with the kick of a lifetime. As they said, great quote in Kyle Gaudette's article in the Tribune today from Mazzy. I mean, this is a moment that they're going to remember for a long time, much like the Methuen moment that Kyle still got pinned on his Twitter page, by the way, in basketball. This is a moment that kids will be talking about to grandkids and for generations, because it means the world. And so we'll talk more about the stats when we have Coach on. Also, huge shout out to North Andover last night. They just absolutely took care of business against Woburn, 42-14. The regulars were pretty much out of the game by halftime. Just domination. Just you talk about discipline and depth. The Scarlet Knights showed it last night. I mean, and so now they will take on Lincoln Sudbury next week, and another powerhouse team. But
that's a good matchup.
But that's going to be a great matchup. Drake it. Listen, I mean, you put all the cliches out there about leaving everything on the field. I mean, those kids did last night, and it's one of those games where. There's got to be a winner and a loser, but boy, if you get a chance, go on. I think it's Brendan Chase's, right? Brendan Chase from the Boston Globe. And by the way, we love the Herald. They do a great job with high school sports. Last night, the Globe guys, the web producers, stepped up huge in terms of the video. Mm-hmm. They had video for Drake at Wayland in all the big spots. They had video for Central and Everett in all the big spots, which I think we're going to pull a little bit in when Coach comes on. But I mean, this kid, what's his name? John Carlos Santiago. Watch that video. Go on Twitter, and I shared it on MVC Gridiron Weekly. This kid, we were talking about this again at House. We were talking about. We're talking about this catch. One-handed, complete extension pass from Lambert in overtime to give them the lead. And, I mean, just you talk about the situation, the pressure involved. This was a big-time catch. And just, a microcosm of the game for Drake. And Coach Jay Rivers said afterwards, much like they got in a little lull in the middle of the game against Marblehead, they got in a little bit of a lull there and let Wayland back in the game, but can't take anything away from the middies, guys. I mean, that's
Playoff
just
football.
that huge run.
And that's like you said, a tough break to lose.
Yeah,
like that in the double overtime. My thought on that is, at least last night, and we saw it there in a couple different places, Acton, Boxborough.
Games.
So, the games they're solid games.
Yeah.
There were the share of the 42-14 games out there if you look around the state.
Sure.
Obviously. But that, when they created this system, was what was supposed to happen now in the first week of November.
Yep.
Whether you I definitely liked it more with 6 divisions, but this playoff system now, I think, it's taken a beating, I think, because of the 8 divisions. But if you give it a chance, there are good games out there, and so the pro Thanksgiving's supposed to matter crowd can look and say, wait a minute, playoffs matter too.
Right.
That's something that's always, playoffs are almost taking a backseat in Massachusetts to Thanksgiving in Massachusetts football. It's just happened. Tradition, years and years and years. But if you give the playoffs a chance, I think we see these Central Everett games and Drake at Wayland, and there are good games out there now, games that people want to go see.
Hector, let me ask you this. You've been doing this for a long time. I've watched football for a long time. Mm-hmm. Here's where I'm struggling a little bit to understand. So it's really a question. A lot of people don't even know that there's games. So Methuen loses to Acton Boxborough. Mm-hmm. I know there's a game this Friday. I don't know who the opponent is, but the stands last night in Methuen, there was nobody there from Lexington, maybe 8 people, mm-hmm. and the weather wasn't bad. And for a lot of the Methuen kids, I had no kids at that game.
Right.
And, Methuen lost in the playoffs. Aren't they out? And I think that's where the MIAA could spend a little bit of time and energy to say,
it's not over.
It's not over. There's still a season for these kids. And I think that's something that is new to me as a dad who has a kid playing. That's like, holy crap, the stands are empty because they're not sure what happens when they read Methuen gets knocked out of the playoffs. So,
right. And therein lies one of the negatives about it. But honest to God, Bill, maybe it's the weather. And the fact that a lot of games were moved up. There were games on Thursday night this week. There were, they're pushed around.
Can you attribute that though to once you lose you're out of the playoffs?
There was definitely.
It seems like way too many teams were moving stuff. Like it's
and the fact that you don't know who you're playing, so it's not on the schedule. It's just on everybody's schedule card. It's a TBD.
Right.
Yeah. That's
it's a legit question because I'm new to this.
But that's a giant gripe I have too.
Okay.
Like the way it was sold in the beginning was, if you were one of the 8 teams that made the playoffs and you lost in that first round, then the 4 teams were going to play, and then the 2 winners were going to play, and then the 2 losers were going to play. The coaches got, at least the way I read it, the coaches got a little bit of power because it was such a close vote. So, coach of high school X said, wait a minute, Everett lost in the first round, and we lost in the first round? You're not making me play Everett, are you? Because nobody wanted to play them. So all of a sudden, coaches said, well, we're not going to play that team, sorry. And they started to manipulate the system in these non-winners bracket games.
And that's kind of what I was hearing a little bit last night, which got me concerned because I'm thinking.
And the coaches had a little power. You want my vote? Well, then no, I'm not going to Lexington next week.
I'm not playing a home playoff game like you were talking about. I'm not because why play a home playoff game if I'm getting half the gate on the road anyway?
Yeah. So like I say, they had to allow for some coaches,
and I didn't know. That's interesting. That's
to sell the system.
Yeah.
And I harken back a couple of years ago. Poor Lawrence, right? Because no one wants to speak up for Lawrence. They were like a 1-something team or an 0-something team, and Mikey Means got St. John's Prep, a first-round loser, coming down the pipe at 3-5, and you're like
mad.
Right? You're like, what do I do to deserve this? The idea of the system was to sell when Lawrence has a bad year, or Haverhill has a bad year, or Methuen has a bad year. You fill in those last 3 weeks with Malden and Medford and or Chelmsford in this case, like Lawrence got this year.
Yeah.
Peabody was down a year or 2. So, in principle, I love that idea. You're putting kids, you're giving kids who've gotten the daylights beaten out of them for 7 weeks to have an opportunity to play teams of their like and get something out of the season. I think in the grand scheme of things, that's an honorable thing.
On the flip side, Methuen's got Lexington the last 2 years. Awesome matchups, both in the middle of of Division I. 2 phenomenal games, great athletes. People that didn't go last night missed a great game.
That's where it works.
That's where it works.
And we can talk about this in kind of the wrap-up show when the lull starts here. Is there something, and I'll put this to you to mull over for a couple of weeks, is there something that you, whether it be cups or something to play for, is there some sort of system, some sort of prize that you can create for the non-playoff teams or the teams that get booted from the playoffs playing these games to create some extra excitement around the post-playoff scene? Just something to ponder. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. We talked about it. We'll talk about it a lot more. We're going to have on Central Catholic coach Chuck Adamopoulos and hopefully AJ Caginelli. We'll talk all about the huge win over Everett right after the break here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance.
Everyone is cashing in on social media, and all marketing roads lead through social media. If you want to make a splash here in the Merrimack Valley, you need to tap in. This is where the new CEM podcast studios come in. Of course, you can spend your time, energy, and money learning how to wrangle technology to make a podcast instead of running your business. Or you can invest in telling everyone in the Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, the Seacoast, or everywhere in the world about your great business, product, service, or yourself. The CEM Podcast Studio is a local audio and video studio dedicated to the craft of podcasts. Their studios feature state-of-the-art recording and mixing equipment designed specifically to produce the best audio and video podcast. Best of all you need to worry about is your show, your business, and your brand. We do the rest. Call 978-686-9966. That's 978-686-9966 to schedule a no-obligation tour of the CEM facilities and meet with a podcast specialist. Or go to CEMpodcast.com to find out more about podcasting services. CEMpodcast.com, your window to the world.
I love talking about my man Val Davila. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now Right in Place Insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and Mapfre, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? Davila and DeFusco prides itself in having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 978-241-7950 for a free quote, or visit them online at daviladefusco.com. Back with you. A rainy Saturday morning in the Merrimack Valley, but lots of good news to talk about here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. Tim Wood, Bill Bryant, Hector Longo, in order of attendance.
And don't forget, tune in on Twitter. You can listen to us
Absolutely.
while you're out shopping for Christmas trees.
Great.
You can put
Absolutely.
the earpiece in and get a nice tree and
For
also
sure.
listen to some great football talk.
Long reach on that back end.
Still felt, though. Still felt.
I can't help it.
So, as we were talking about, a huge win for Central Catholic, 23-20 over Everett, stopping a 27-game win streak from the Crimson Tide. And on the line with us, the victorious coach, Central Catholic's Chuck Adamopoulos, the first 3-time guest on MVC Gridiron Weekly. How are you, Coach?
I'm good, Tim. Thank you for having me.
Hey, listen,
this is who I was afraid was going to take my seat right here.
Yeah,
if I
right?
missed another show,
seriously.
Coach was going to be sitting right here talking MVC football.
We said last week, win this game. You're the first 3-time guest. You did it, Coach. Tell us about it. Tell us. Listen. First question. First question. I just want to get this out of the way, okay? Was this about your guys winning full out, or because what I saw, Everett was not down last night. Everett had a couple of bonehead plays, but overall, it felt like you guys just took this game.
Well, the big thing, that we always talk about with our team is that when you have big games like this, came back and matched us 7-7, and we were moving, and we turned the ball over, and then they scored, change of possession. They threw the ball, scored, and stopped us, and then the very next play scored again on a long pass, and all of a sudden we went from Yeah, we could have buckled right there, and we didn't. We had a nice drive and scored to make it 20-14, and went in the half feeling not great, but feeling good about how we finished out the half. And the kids responded. And then we just played, on defense in the second half. We stopped the big plays, which was what the thing with when you play Everett is. And even last year, if you gave us pluses or minuses. We really stressed that we couldn't give up big plays this year. And in the second half, we shut that down, and the kids hung in there, and our offense came up with goals at the end. And I'm really proud of the kids because they competed last night. They just stayed with the game and played hard, and I thought our no-huddle kind of gassed them a little bit. I thought they got tired, and our kids were in pretty good shape. They don't like Monday and Tuesday practices because there's a lot of hard conditioning at the end of it, but it's paid off. And I'm really proud of the kids because they had a challenge.
Skill player after skill player after skill player that goes big time. All of a sudden, this team has a defensive front, this Everett team, that is, you know, very intimidating. How did your guys up front handle them?
They've been pretty good the last few years, too. Like last year, their defensive line was very good, but they were impressive. They're one of their DTs, number 55, is outstanding. And we did all right. That's what I mean. Like we didn't dominate them by any means. We hung in there and did what we had to do. And quarterback played with a great deal of courage last night because he carried the ball a lot. He had to, you know, take care of his reads and make decisions. And he got whacked, and he hung in there, and he really I'm going to use the word courage. He did not get phased. He handled, you know, the physical pounding that he took and really played very well last night.
Coach, let me just follow that up real quick in terms of Jared. When you were playing the two quarterback earlier in the season, was that was that just strategy or was that to challenge?
He said this himself, wasn't playing great early. We have our senior quarterback, Aiden Gordon. I love him. He's got as good an attitude as any kid we've ever coached, and he accepts whatever role that he has, and he works hard at his craft, and he actually.
That's the end of the game with the final score, Central Catholic 23.
At quarterback, he's hoping to get into MIT. He's a very good student. He's smarter than everyone on my staff, including me. But he's a good player, and so we gave him some reps, and he played well, and I think Jared played well. And whether it was a result of that or not, I don't know. But Jared picked his game up and has reasserted himself and really is coming into his own. I'm really happy with how he played last night.
That's the end of the game with the final score, Central Catholic 23.
The kid that was on the show, and from what I'm hearing, you know, towards the end of the game, he had I think a series that Everett went, 4-and-out, and Cam was all over the field. How was Mr. Bowes last night as far as on the defensive end?
He played really, really good. He had great pressure on the quarterback. He did a good job when he was in coverage, and I think I said this the last time I was on the show. He does so many things that you don't get statistics for, and he's always in the right spot. He recognizes the other team's formations and has a clue of what's coming. He's a very smart player, and he's been a rock. He's just been a consistent kid that I know I can count on, and he's very dependable. And he came through big last night, and he blocked well last night at tight end as well.
Coach, when you get it 2020, and you get that kick blocked. And what do you say to Mazzy in that spot?
You know what? I didn't say anything to him. I said stuff to the guys up front that didn't block on the extra point that got blocked.
Yep.
That was genius, by the way. No?
Yeah.
but it was funny. I get a kick out of Nick. He's a funny kid, and I guess I like to use the word goofy with kids lovingly as a description of him. And he's goofy, and I did not think he'd be phased, and that was
touchdown.
You know, kid went over to say something, so when Nick was kind of waiting
touchdown.
he was a sophomore, he would
Touchdown.
would do a better job blocking.
Touchdown. 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 Touchdown.
Yeah.
Touchdown. Touchdown. Touchdown, Central Catholic. Number 8, Jared Silverio. Touchdown.
You know, you only get a week here. This is a quick reload. How do you get these kids back from a huge win?
Well, we just broke films about an hour ago, and the last thing that I said to them was, okay, and we usually don't watch the whole game film. With all the critiquing,
Touchdown, Central Catholic. Number 8, Jared Silverio.
to the end of the game. But I said this puts this game to bed now. I said, you can have the memory later in life about this win. I said, this is over. I said, there's going to be people in school now that are going to greet you with congratulations, but this is done. And you know, the ultimate goal was not just to try to win, get to the North Final. We want to move on from there. So we told them today, this is put to bed, and it's all about St. John's Prep now, because, you know, we're facing a team that beat us up pretty good the first time we played them. We hung in for half, and then, you know, we fell apart. I like to think we're a better team than we were then. They're probably a better team than they were then, too, and they're playing very well. I mean, they beat up a pretty good team last night, you know, by a sizable score, and they're playing well, and they're on their own mission. So the kids know, and they've been pretty good about moving on, you know, to the next game, and it'll be easier for them. There'll be people around them that want to keep talking about it, but I think they'll be pretty good about moving on to the next one.
So what happens with Nick's dad now? Does he have to resign?
He actually told me a funny. I don't know if I should. I don't think he'd mind if I tell the story. He told me a funny story after the game that the mayor gave him a call and kept asking for Sergeant Mazzi, and I guess his brother is on the force. So Mr. Mazzi said, "Well, are you trying to get my brother?" He goes, "No, I'm trying to get you. You're no longer the chief. You're now a sergeant." So I thought that was a pretty good line, but. I was happy for the kid, you know, because he loves kicking and he's done really well. And he's a good athlete. I think he's going to be more than a kicker down the line for us. But he broke his hand early in a scrimmage, and so for the first part of the season, he was just kicking, and we've kind of left it like that because he's too valuable right now to lose him in any other way. But I'm happy for our seniors because we have a good core of seniors that, while it's not a super deep group, they've been good leaders and they've hung in there. And another guy I'll just mention really quick because he's been kind of the rock of our line is Nick Guerrero, who's our only senior on the offensive line. And he's played really solid for us on both sides of the ball. He's kind of the leader of the young group. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him because he played well in defense last night and he played solid on offense. And he's been kind of a low-key guy that's done well for us this year.
You guys got a start time on the game yet?
Yeah, it's 7 o'clock on Friday night.
Okay, good deal. We will be watching, Coach.
Okay.
Huge,
Tim, you got my
win.
text right on AJ?
Yeah.
The number?
Yes. Actually, I don't think so. Yes, I did. Okay.
Okay.
We'll do that.
All righty. Because we finished early, so he had to get going, he's expecting your call.
Awesome. Sounds good, Coach. Anything else, guys?
Coach, great win, and I think it was great to talk about the seniors. That's a win that, you know, I know you have more of a mission here, but for them going forward, that's a huge victory for them.
Yeah, it is, and I'm happy for them because they really accepted the challenge and stepped up, and that's cool to see when young kids do that. Yep. So young kids being seniors, I mean, they're still developing their life right now, and it was awesome to see them take on that challenge and come out successful.
Coach, I mean, we're talking about the kids and how they stepped up. I mean, what does it mean to you and for your coaching staff in the way that your coaching staff stepped up last night. What does that mean to you to pull off this win?
There's always satisfaction from the point of view that you put time in and you know, try to come up with something. I mean, the goal of the coach is to put your kids in position that and give them a chance to make plays to win the game, and that's what we try to do. But we're kind of a staff. We don't like to, you know, my staff likes to stay in the background. I try to, you know, we don't puff our chests out and look for any type of stuff. So there's a lot of satisfaction just coming back last night and sitting around the coach's room and talking about the game, and there is satisfaction there. But it's a great profession that there's so much stuff that happens during the season that while this is out in the limelight, there's other stuff that happens when you're dealing with kids that makes you feel really good too.
All those little moments lead to this, right? All those little moments that nobody
and
sees.
This is cool. We've had different wins that have been good for different reasons, and you know, there was a game when my team went 6-5 that we were underdogs against Andover and down by 3 touchdowns on Thanksgiving and scored like 3 touchdowns to tie the game and win in double overtime. That, you know, that's a special memory. So they all have different meaning and stuff, and this was cool. It's and I always say this, people might think it's corny, but some of my biggest enjoyment is just getting on the bus and listening to the kids talk about the game afterwards, and just kind of, I'll just sit and not say anything and just listen to them, and it's fun. It's fun to hear them talk about what happened, and it's, you know, their memories that they're going to have the rest of their life. I'm lucky. I get to come back next year and do it with another group and stuff, but for these guys, this is their, you know, this is their thing. Like the seniors, this is their one senior year. I get to experience a senior year with a different group every year. So it's more about them and seeing them enjoy it.
Congratulations, Coach. Huge win. It's not over by any means, and like you said, very little motivation needed with St. John's, with the team that you know, handed it to you on the scoreboard anyway. But you're a different team than you were then, and we can't wait to see this game.
Well, thank you. Again, thank you guys for having me, and thanks for having this show. It's an awesome thing.
Absolutely. Coach Chuck Adamopoulos, congratulations.
Oh, hey, Tim.
Yo.
Tim, can I make one plug?
Yes, absolutely.
I have to, and I know you guys mentioned it, but I coached on Mark Pelletier's staff for a long time as his freshman coach, and I just want to give a shout-out to Mark, because he's had a great career at our school and in coaching and as an educator, which he's still doing. But to coach that long at one place is not easy to do anymore, and he's been great for kids, and I got to give Mark a shout-out, because he just was a great guy to work with, and I was lucky enough my oldest son, Zach, played for him and played on a couple of championship teams, and so I just wanted to give a shout-out to Mark, because I think highly of him, and I know this is the MVC football show, but he's
no, absolutely.
He's been a good man, and I know you guys mentioned it.
Who was on the show? Who was on the show?
Throw my 2 cents in on him.
No, it was Lefebvre, maybe.
Lefebvre.
I think when Lefebvre talked about it, I mean, you could hear it in his voice that this guy, you know, that Coach Pelletier had a huge impact on him, and you know, Mr. Lefebvre has a lot of people in his family that are pretty influential. So clearly, Coach Pelletier has been, you know, influenced a lot of kids over a long period of time in such a great way. So, a totally appropriate plug, no matter what show you're on.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Good, Chuck.
Hector, if you go back today, good luck.
Thanks, Chuck.
You got a pick for us?
In the classic, Hector, got to go with Catholic boy.
All right. That's Tim's favorite horse, Chuck.
All right, I'll see you guys.
Be good.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you.
Chuck Adamopoulos. We will take a quick break. We will get AJ Caginelli on the phone right after the break here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. I love talking about my man Val Davila. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now Right in Place Insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and Mapfre, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? Davila and DeFusco prides itself in having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 978-241-7950 for a free quote, or visit them online at daviladefusco.com.
Everyone is cashing in on social media, and all marketing roads lead through social media. If you want to make a splash here in the Merrimack Valley, you need to tap in. This is where the new CEM podcast studios come in. Of course, you can spend your time, energy, and money learning how to wrangle technology to make a podcast instead of running your business. Or you can invest in telling everyone in the Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, the Seacoast, or everywhere in the world about your great business, product, service, or yourself. The CEM Podcast Studio is a local audio and video studio dedicated to the craft of podcasts. Their studios feature state-of-the-art recording and mixing equipment designed specifically to produce the best audio and video podcast. Best of all you need to worry about is your show, your business, and your brand. We do the rest. Call 978-686-9966. That's 978-686-9966 to schedule a no-obligation tour of the CEM facilities and meet with a podcast specialist. Or go to CEMpodcast.com to find out more about podcasting services. CEMpodcast.com, your window to the world.
Back here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. Tim Wood, Bill Bryant, Hector Longo. Want to give a shout out to another one of our sponsors. Very happy, Jen Hamilton today, Central Catholic booster and realtor with Keller Williams Realty. Listen, if you're buying or selling in the Merrimack Valley, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Jen Hamilton is the name to know. She's consistently won awards for the volume of sales, for the quality of her sales, and just the quality of her representation. So if you're looking to get that home sold before the winter, looking to get into a new home right before the winter takes hold, reach out to Jen Hamilton at Keller Williams Realty, 508-954-7941. She will get it done for you. That's Jen Hamilton at Keller Williams. And again, congratulations to you, Jen. Huge win. So from what we understood, I guess, we were popping in some videos and they couldn't hear the feed, so we were trying something new, folks. So if there was a
break in action.
Oh, we weren't playing audio. We were supposed to play audio on this. I'll play audio. I can play audio.
What?
I was just playing some video over the top of that.
Okay, so because the video was playing, you couldn't hear the interview, or
no, you could hear the interview.
Okay, we were getting some
text feedback.
Some text feedback. You couldn't hear.
As far as I know,
couldn't hear the interview.
Okay,
we'll take a look at it though. Lou is the master technician. All right, so now we're talking more about Central Catholic's big win against Everett last night, with one of the guys that was one of the key figures on the field. AJ Caggianelli, Tim Wood, Bill Bryant, Hector Longo here on MVC Gridiron Weekly. It is a pleasure to get you on the show, especially after such a huge win. How you doing this morning?
Good. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Listen, you've lit up the stat sheet all year, and once again a huge night. Take us through the touchdown catch. Take us through just the moment and what that felt like.
Well, it was coming down to the wire, and we needed a big play, and the line just stepped up incredibly last night with their blocking and given the quarterback time. And so when I came out the outside, it felt great to just see the ball coming my way.
What kind of moves did you have to put on?
I had to use my speed definitely for this one.
Yeah, I mean it's and when when you're coming back and you're getting down to 2 minutes to see the daylight in the end zone. What is that like in that moment?
It was just like not weight off my shoulders, but it was just a relief. Like, we're still in this. Like, we're not done. And it was crazy, like, unexplainable.
AJ, nobody coming into this year, I don't know if anybody thought you guys, as a senior group, would have such an impact. But it seems like week after week, it's either you or Lefebvre, Bose, that keep stepping up and making big plays. What is it about you guys?
Honestly, we became really close in the preseason, and it was a young crew, so we all just kind of bonded, and we knew that we had to all come together to make this thing work for us to be where we are now.
Is that tradition? Is that, you're a high school senior. You don't have to accept the extra burden of worrying about younger kids and worrying about how important the team is. You have a million things on your plate. Is that tradition that kicks in? Is that the football tradition at your school that, hey, look, somebody looked after me when I was a sophomore. Now it's my turn.
I think it really just happens because we see each other. We have workouts in the morning during the summer and then some in the winter before school, and we just see all the younger kids, and we all just look out for each other because that's what happened to us, just like you said, when we were sophomores. And so it just makes the team better because everyone's so close.
So, going into the game, you got great coaches. You guys felt like you were prepared for the game based on all the practice and film. Once you get on the field, though, and you start hitting, at what point did you feel like, all right, this is going to be a dogfight, this is going to come down to the wire, and is there a specific play or just some things that were going on that you felt like, we just got to hang in there and not make mistakes?
Definitely on kickoff was a big part where we knew that this was going to be, that we were going to have to play the hardest we've ever played. And the first offensive play, sorry.
Explain that, AJ. I don't think the regular fan at home knows what the kickoff play means. Was it just some serious hitting going on right from the get-go?
Yes. It was just everyone was just amped up. It was a great environment, and when we were just flying down the field, it was all you could hear were just hits. So it was just crazy and great.
So, Coach A talked about halftime after Everett scored a couple of quick touchdowns back-to-back. As Hector was talking about, being that leader and Lefebvre and Bose, what did you have to do on the sideline, as far as just making sure that you didn't lose anybody, making sure that people stayed focused and continued to do what they needed to do?
We just had to, well, really we just had to know, we knew that how much this game was for everyone, and so we just came together, and I'm trying to draw a blank.
That's all right.
No problem.
Just looking for the atmosphere in the sideline after those two quick touchdowns. How to just keep yourself like, okay, we're going to get back on this game.
Oh, jeez.
That's all right. Go ahead.
Sorry. We took it play by play, and we just played our football and just knew that we had to get all our assignments down and just have no mistakes and keep our heads up the whole time.
Gotcha.
Central Catholic's AJ Caggianelli joining us here on MVC Gridiron Weekly. AJ, you've been there for the losses. You got a lot of underclassmen that could have come into this game with wide eyes against Everett. You've been there. You've seen. How do you tell those young kids that, listen, okay, 27 straight wins, whatever. We can be in this game. We can beat these guys.
We just had to let them know that we can hang with them, because as long as we do, we had a big senior, Nick Guerrero. He really stepped up with the line. He held the line down and made sure that they were so confident going into this game with everything that they were doing, and everyone just stayed positive the entire time. So I think that was really big.
You have any, AJ, as a senior at Central, did you know the history of Central Everett in the past few years, in football-wise, and some of the big wins down there?
Yes, I do know that the last time we beat them was at their homecoming,
right,
in 2016, I want to say.
Mm-hmm. So does that, it would be easy to be in awe of Everett. Knowing that Central Catholic can go down there and win, did that help you guys going in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because we knew that we were prepared from our coaches and all from the practice week that we had before, and so going into this, we were confident and we knew that we had to go in there 100 miles an hour.
You happy to get another shot at St. John's Prep now?
Oh, can't wait. That's what's next now. So,
AJ, Jared took a huge hit in the early part of the second half that would have probably knocked most other quarterbacks out of the game. What do you say to him in that spot, and talk about just how he responded from that point on? It seemed like he just got he absorbed the hit and just got tougher.
Yeah, he played with heart the entire game. He stepped up incredibly last night, and it was great to just see him step up and do that for the team.
All right, congratulations, AJ. Huge win for the Raiders and for the program, for the school. And listen, for the MVC, that's represented in hardcore, and real proud of you. We'll be rooting for you against St. John's Prep, and congratulations on a great season thus far, and keep it going.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, that's AJ Cagianelli, senior with Central Catholic. Just a big, he's been there every game for them.
Yeah.
On the stat sheet, off the stat sheet, just one of those guys that has been the consistency even when they were down early.
Yeah, and look, I think we heard from him there. Therein lies the beauty of youth. He has no idea how big that win is. Even now, I don't think they know how big that win is. 15 years from now, I mean, honest to God, we've all been there.
Nick Bazzi, this is going to go down in history.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, honest to God, and he's got
sophomore.
He's got 2 years left too, right, to really make his mark. But what an event. Too bad it was all the way down in Everett. Obviously they deserve the home field. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But, it's such a tough place to get into and get out.
Oh,
of.
it is.
It's just I'm sitting there thinking, do I go down? Do I go down? Do I go down last night? And it's like, who wants the hassle? But good for Central. That's just it's a hostile environment.
Yes.
In a good way. I use that positively. If you've ever been down there for games, it's like a really cool place to be.
Absolutely.
It's a great field.
Yeah, the city
atmosphere.
Yeah.
And as good as the Everett football team is, the Everett band's better. And
there's the banners on the hill.
The fans, the tradition. It's all right there in front of you.
Well, Bill, they don't have any parking other than that, though.
Right, that's a good
I always end up parking a mile and a half away because, as usual, I'm never on time. So,
I'll say this. This is, when we talked about doing this show, hearing these kids after a huge game like this, the regular season, it was like, all right, we know what we're going to talk about. Now that we're in the playoffs, there's really no format other than whoever wins. And, having Coach, Adamopoulos on has been great. He's, obviously been doing this for a few years. But listening to these kids get on, I don't care what school they're from, whatever. It's been pretty cool listening to them talk about these wins.
Mm-hmm.
Just to see, and we live as fans for those moments. And the players don't get those moments very often. So to be in, as fans, we get those moments every week.
Right.
Whether just look at, just turn on Red Zone, you'll get a touchdown every 2 seconds. But as kids, getting those moments are so rare. It's amazing, as you said, Bill, to get them on and hear the excitement. And speaking of. We have one of the leaders from just an absolutely dominant win last night for North End over Woburn. Gabe D'Souza, Tim Wood, Bill Bryant, Hector Longo on MVC Gridiron Weekly. We've been saving you. We've been saving you for the playoffs, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Absolutely. Fantastic, and congratulations on a huge win last night.
Thank you.
How does this keep going for you guys at this point, Gabe? You guys are just you're looking like a machine at this point. You got so many weapons. We saw even more of them last night. Tell us just about the depth and the heart of this team.
I mean, we have kids who just they bought into the system. Every day, we come out to practice and we're always competing. Even our scout team, they give us the best they can, and even when they come out on the games to play, you can see some some good talents like on the field. So every day when you come out to practice, you gotta just put on your best performance, and that itself just helps everyone get better. And with the guys we have getting the ball and making plays on offense, defense, and special teams, those are just kids who all off season they put in their work, they put in the time, and it's paying off for them on Friday nights.
Okay, Gabe, I want to ask you a kicking question, but I know that's Hector's favorite part of the game, so hopefully he won't get mad at me. But 6 for 6 on extra points. I don't think the average fan understands how important that extra point is. How'd you get into kicking, and how critical is that going to be as you saw with Central beating Everett last night on a field goal? How do you prepare for that, and how big is that for your part of the game?
I mean, for me, my older brother, he played forever growing up. So since the age of 5, I was kind of told by all my coaches, all right, you're going to be the next one up. So I went out to kick one day, and it just felt natural for me. And then ever since, it's just been that. So, kicking is a huge part of the game, and I think it's very underlooked, especially in today. I prepare for it just as I do with any other position, whether it's receiver, safety. You can't take anything for granted, especially now in the playoffs. So you got to prepare as if you're preparing for the Super Bowl every week, and that's just how it goes.
What is this like for you, Gabe, to be back? The injury's behind you at this point, but I got to imagine at this point in the season that it starts start thinking about it in terms of just being on the field for these moments at this point and having the opportunity to be on the field.
So, I was actually just checking my calendar, and so we played Lincoln Sudbury on Friday, and then the day after, Saturday, is going to be 1 year since I had the whole heart incident. So I've been waiting for this game for 365 days now, and
that's cool.
I've been thinking about it a lot. I've watched the film from that game probably 500 times. And all year long, this is the moment I've been waiting for. I know my teammates are really excited to put on and to get me in the position to be successful. It's my coaches, they know what's at stake. We all know what's at stake, and it's a trip to the Super Bowl. And that's something we all have in our minds, is to get a ring.
So you guys should have your hands full, Gabe, with them. I mean, this is a really good football team. Braden O'Connell is their Jake McElroy, their money guy at quarterback. They have a big-time offense. How do you guys handle them defensively? Have you thought about that at all, or is it still a little too early to think about them?
I mean, Lincoln Sudbury is a great program. They're a great team. Brady's actually a great quarterback. He held his own last year against us. But just like every week when we prepare, we play to our standards, and if we do that, it's going to be just like every other week. We'll be satisfied with our results, and as long as we make the game about us and not about anyone else, then I feel like we'll be fine and we'll be in control of our own destiny.
Does it help that on your end, do you think, that they were all out to play, coming back in the last minute to beat Reading last night, whereas you guys kind of had a cruise? Does that help you, hurt you? I
mean, I wouldn't exactly call it a cruise. I just feel like we took care of business early, and we did what we had to do. Reading and Lincoln Sudbury, both two great teams, number 2 and number 3 in the North. Reading's had some tough games all year, and, Lincoln Sudbury holding their own against Acton Boxborough. Those are just two great teams that just battled it out. So, I mean, like I said, every week is like a new season for you in the playoffs. So last week's behind us. Like yesterday it was fun and all, but now you throw all that away. The regular season and all the games before that don't mean anything. And now it's you win or go home. So,
how do you simulate the pressure moments though, Gabe? I think that's kind of what Hector was getting at, just in terms of you guys have been so dominant that there have not been a whole lot of those moments that were pressure moments where you had to pull out a game or pull out a play. How do you simulate those? Is it just the work that are the practices against each other almost simulating those moments?
Yeah, definitely. You push everyone every day, and to be in those positions, you can't really practice for them. It's always just in the moment type things. But our kids, like the kids we got on defense and offense, and special teams, they're just so mentally tough more than they are physically, because we don't ever break. We'll bend a little, but we won't ever break, and that's just something that we just grew up our whole lives, like, just knowing that we won't ever back down, and to hold our own against anybody is just kind of what we do. And to be in those big situations, we don't ever feel pressure. It's just how the game goes.
Okay, Gabe, I got to ask you a non-football question. You're a senior this year. What are you looking to do next year? Because I'm going to tell you right now, you're a very well-spoken young man, and if there's ever a vacancy on this show, your answers and your breakdown, I think that your senior leadership and your ability to talk the way you're talking right now is probably a huge asset to the coaches as far as keeping these kids on focus. What are plans for next year for you?
I'm still looking. I'm in contact with a few coaches, but I don't know. When the time comes, then I'll make my decision. But as of right now, the only thing I'm really focused on doing is being a sports psychologist. So whatever school helps me get that, is where I'll go. But I'd love to be part of the show next year. Don't get me wrong.
Why sports psychology? I mean, it's a great field to get into right now, and they're more needed than ever. But why that for you?
I mean, I've always liked sports. Since I was little, that's my whole family. That's just what we've done is we've just participated in sports, whether it was soccer, basketball, or football. But apart from that, there's just a lot of stuff that goes on with athletes, off the field, where stuff could be wrong with them at home, or missing last second field goal, for example, and having to have all that weight on your shoulders and just not knowing what to do with it. So I feel like if you add the sports into the whole psychology type of mind, then I feel like that's just the best of both worlds, because one, you're helping people out just to get over stuff, and two, I'm still in the sports field, which is what I've done my whole life. So
and Gabe,
I just feel like that's just the best of both worlds.
And as was said earlier, going through an injury like that, I don't think people understand the impact on an athlete that's 24/7 eating right, exercising, and practicing their craft. When they get hurt, there is a level of sports depression when you tear your ACL or your rotator cuff or Tommy John surgery. So having someone that's a good athlete but also has gone through an injury, there's definitely a lack of mental health support and psychologists that understand that, but can also help these athletes, get back on the field once they get the injury and get the confidence to come back. So that's an impressive goal of yours. I wish you well. I think you'll do a great job.
Absolutely, and just the way that you've come back and the way that you've led this team, Gabe, is just exemplary. And boy, I tell you. We have not been avoiding you, okay? Honestly, we've been
holding your offer.
We've been holding the
right
ace.
moment.
Yeah, we've been holding the ace card for the right moment. So please don't feel slighted. We're huge fans.
We kind of all had a feeling you'd be winning still right now. So.
Can't take anything for granted, I know, but I mean the way that you guys have bared down, and as you said, the standard that you guys have created in this program and amongst yourselves, in the way that you represent the program, the school, the town every week, it's mighty impressive.
Yeah, thank you.
Sounds good. I'm good.
Yeah. All right, Gabe D'Souza, huge fan. Huge thank you for coming on to the show. And boy, we will be looking for big things against Lincoln Sudbury next Friday night.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks again, Gabe.
Thank you.
I mean, wow.
Quality kid, been through a ton.
Yeah.
You know, just been through a ton. Gotta love. And I like Gabe, the football player. I love Gabe, the basketball player. So
I was blown away.
You know?
I'm blown away. I mean, that's not. I mean, I didn't know him, whatever. But as far as guests, we've had some great kids on, and that was impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive kid right there.
I there was a couple articles done on him. Was it David Willis who wrote it?
Must have been, yeah.
It was a great article earlier in the season on Gabe, and so to just look at his answers there, I knew we were going to get a quality kid on there, but some of his answers were just mature beyond his years.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
You know, it's weird, right? There are reasons that I love to see these programs succeed, like, you know, Methuen, because my Larry Clements roots back in the day and how much I liked Larry back in the day. You know, Haverhill, because I love Tim and love the kids there, the stuff they fight through. Lawrence, because anytime they win, it's such an uphill battle. I root for North Andover for one simple reason. They were stuck in the Cape Ann League. They fought out of the Cape Ann League. People panicked and said, "Oh, how are they going to ever compete in the Merrimack Valley?" And the kids in that town, starting from the beginning, took it upon themselves to raise their games. It was, everybody was panicked in that town at first about the move and how are we going to compete. All it did was keep the better kids home, keep the good kids home, forced kids to get better, to get more dedicated. And it's, it wasn't the coaches so much in this case. It was the kids who took it upon themselves. And they have such great coaches over there. I mean, in all the sports. But so I tip my cap to the North Andover kids. I love the fact that they're kicking something in
booty.
Yeah, I love the fact that they're excelling in the Merrimack Valley simply because so many people were naysayers back in the day saying, "Oh, how is it going to happen? Woe is us!" And, this is awesome.
And they would never really give it their credit because, you're just in the Cape Ann League.
Right,
so
right.
They were left in that burden of no matter what happens. If we do good, we're criticized.
Right.
If we don't do good,
but even now, you're just in the small.
Yeah.
They're.
Yeah, but they showed their colors this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in this world of and the small thing is an enrollment thing, but in this world of let's split up the leagues into five teams so everybody gets a league champion and stuff. And let's find an easier way to get our kids to compete. Let's make it easier for them. No, they don't went the opposite way. They made it tougher.
Yeah.
I
love your tone.
Yeah. No. Honest to God, Bill. Really.
No, I hear you.
And to see them just
they didn't need a trophy until they earned the trophy.
The best thing that could have happened, and like you said, John seeking out Central Catholic.
I loved hearing that.
That they accepted the challenge. Good for North Andover. Like I said, from the way back, and I'm talking years and years ago when I used to have the conversation on the sideline with the old AD Jack Stevenson about how the kids needed to compete and things like that. I knew coming to the MVC would be the best thing for them, and it took a while for people to understand that. But the kids have just knocked it out of the park with it in so many sports, boys and girls for that matter. Both on both sides, in multiple sports. Everyone said, "Hey, survival of the fittest. We have to get better." It was a refreshing attitude in this era.
And they were in the MVC Christmas tournament, holiday tournament now for a long time. So they always, whenever they could, they were always in the thick of it with the MVC.
Yeah.
The other part they couldn't control until they were able to move out. So you're 100% right.
Yeah, it's just so that, if you think, if I need a reason to root for North Andover, honest to God, or for a team to root for, it'll be North Andover just because of that,
These are the moments I love, too, just about this show, and why I'm not sucking up. Why it was crucial that you be part of this, because you add the perspective. I mean, I've been covering high schools for 25 years now. You feel the same way. It is it as Coach said earlier, in terms of having that next senior class every year. These moments never get old, and the reaction for the kids, what it means to the towns, in an era where sports has changed so dramatically, high school sports and what it means and what the type of people that it creates, it never changes. It never gets old.
No, and being in education, you see that those moments are as much a part of education as anything in the classroom. Those exciting moments, the lessons learned, things like that. I'm just a big fan of, like I say, especially in this area, in this league itself. Bottom line, from 1 to 11, every single town, plus Central Catholic, when something good happens, the towns are absorbed in it. The kids get absorbed into the thing. It matters all the time, whether it's a Methuen run to the in basketball, or to the Garden in basketball, or I harken back to those great Lawrence teams that went back to the Garden, and just what it meant for the kids in the city and the city kids. And the city people
girls
itself.
hockey run this year, even with the two schools, it still was epic.
It's as much a part of the educational process as going to algebra class.
Yeah,
in my eyes. So.
And honestly, to hear a kid like Gabe want to give back and to because there are so many moments beyond the Friday night that make the player, that make the human in the middle of playing those sports. And those are crushing moments, like you said, when you have those injuries, when you have those lows. We're not programmed to deal with that, especially in going from such a high to such a low so quickly. So to hear Gabe and want to give back and want to put his experience to use is just awesome.
The thing that kept blowing me away, and I'm going to probably go a little to the right, and I don't mean to, and pull me back in, but, over the last 20 years coaching youth and being around high school sports, I find there's a missing element with what's going on with the mental health crisis, with autism and special needs. And I think a lot of kids are not participating in sports because the older coaches don't know how to coach them. They don't understand that education has changed and technology and how to grab the attention of 25 kids. It's not one coach talking to everybody. You have to get them out in a different way. And to hear a kid like Gabe, he's potentially going to be a young man that's going to potentially coach. And for him to already understand the psychology has changed and how to do that, it's refreshing for me to think maybe this next crop of coaches is going to understand that to get more kids to participate, it's not just about concussions.
Yeah.
It's a lot of kids aren't playing because people don't know how to coach this next generation. So I was really excited to hear him and that part of it, because I think that's going to be huge for future generations of kids to play.
And that just, to kind of circle back here to the field, just think about next Friday night in North Andover, and what's going to go on there with them in Lincoln Sudbury.
Yeah.
Just great game, great atmosphere. That place will be banged out. Another great moment for a bunch of high school kids. So, that should be a war. I don't know what you guys think, but I think that's I think those are two teams that everybody in Division II North thought of at that point, and now they're here, and it should be an absolute.
If I didn't have someone close to me potentially playing on Friday night, that would probably be a destination I would be going to watch a football game.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
the Globe will be. I mean, that's a game that you want to see if you're a football fan for sure. All right, so let's talk. We've talked a lot about some of the players. So we haven't talked in terms of some of the other scorers in the non-playoffs. Methuen pulled off a great win last night against Lexington, their second straight year beating Lexington. Last year was more of a shootout. This year was more of a defensive battle. And Bill, you were there. The Rangers made some great stops down the stretch.
Yeah, it was just a good football game. I mean, Lexington's solid. They've got I think it was a senior quarterback who was a wide receiver who transferred over. Just two well-coached teams. It was just a good football game, good atmosphere, and at the end of the day, the defense had to hold, and they did. And then, everyone's celebrating. There's 3 minutes left. Methuen has the ball, 1st and 10 at their own 25. Now they've got to, get a couple first downs and control the ball, which they did. Went into victory formation and pulled out. big 75-yard touchdown pass to Bryant to Coleman, which was a great catch. And I didn't know Kareem had the extra boosters. The safety from Lexington had the great angle, and all of a sudden that turbo kicked in and Kareem was gone, which was pretty impressive. Good battle on the line. Both good size defense and offensive lines, and they battled all day long. Zach Bergeron, a sophomore from Methuen, got the start and took most of the carries. He's a name that you're going to continue to hear over the next couple of years. Man, that kid can absolutely fly, and he's tough as nails.
Haverhill played Peabody tough, but ended up losing 20-10 to Peabody last night. Andover with a huge win, 27-14 over Winchester. Tommy Duncan, 2 scores. Victor Harrington, two touchdown passes, including one 63-yarder to Brendan Moody. And then Bill Ricca on Thursday night, big win over Concord Carlisle, 34-21. Lawrence, as you mentioned earlier, Hector Lawrence played Chelmsford, beat them 34-13, and Lowell.
2 straight.
Yeah,
wow. 2 straight for Lawrence. Jacob Tamayo had a big night. Brandon Santel, 117 yards rushing. We all know him for his linebacker play, but stepped over on offense. 117 yards rushing, big night for them. 2 in a row, and therein lies the good part of this system, Bill. You know, they get teams after a struggle through the league. They get teams they can play with, and you know, now all of a sudden you're building positive stuff.
That's what builds for next season.
Yeah. And the same matchup with Billerica. You know, Billerica has had a tough schedule. Yeah. You know, had North Andover, Tewksbury twice. And goes against a Concord Carlisle team, which is no joke. They battled Lexington this year to a close game, and then allows Houlihan to go almost 200 yards passing, a couple TDs, and them get back on track as far as they're building up this year and doing some positive things. The other quick thing is I know the Reggies aren't part of the MVC, but they're a Vogue school, and I know they lost to St. Mary's in a tough one, but they've battled all year long and having a solid season. Another group of juniors and sophomores that are a big part of that school. So
what was the final score there?
They lost to St. Mary's 30-24. And St. Mary's is a kind of a powerhouse in that league every year, so that's a good game.
And then Lowell pulled out a 40-24 win over Malden, so a good win for Lowell. So in terms, you mentioned Central. How much did he have? 117.
117 yards rushing.
All right. In terms of other guys, top performers for Week 9, we mentioned him. Nick Mazzy, sophomore, hit the 33-yard field goal to win the game for Central Catholic. Just a huge win over Everett. Jared Silverio, 194 all-purpose yards, 2 running TDs, 1 passing TD. Mike Lefebvre from Central Catholic, 4 catches, 67 yards, and the huge interception after Central had the extra point kicked and tie ball game. Interception to give them a shot at a game-winning drive, which they cashed in on. Cam Bowes, Louis Baez, Tronicoso, huge game for Central Catholic defensively. The defense held Everett to just 55 rushing yards. Darren Watson from North Andover, interception and a 35-yard TD catch. Freddie Gavin, North Andover, 5 catches, 66 yards, 2 TDs. Those 5 carries, 66 yards, 2 TDs. Again, light carry night as some of the other stars around North Andover got into the game last night. What else we got, Bill?
Gabe D'Souza, North Andover, 14-yard TD catch and just the impressive 6-for-6 on extra points. Peter Radulski, North Andover junior backup, hit Max Wolfgang for a 55-yard completion in the second half. I think it was 42-0, so not a lot of points for North Andover in the second half, but they definitely controlled and moved the ball. Devin Lambert, Drake 4 TD passes in the overtime loss. Tough loss for Drake. And then who's going to be my vote for one of the performers of the week? Giancarlo Santiago Drake, 2 TD catches, outstanding one-hand leaping catch to put Meaties up in the first OT. You have to see this catch.
Yeah.
This was in the back of the end zone, fully stretched out, one-handed. This wasn't one of those fake one-handed catches that you're seeing way too much of. This was, he did everything he could to put fingers on that ball and then pulled it in. This was a legit. I had to catch it with one hand. Scarlet Knight defense held Woomer to 70 yards in the first half. Mark Federico, Mike Roach, Thomas Vance, Matthew Samanuk, and Stephen Frulo led the way. Connor Bryant, 21 rushes, 105 yards. 10
See, I was gonna switch it over so that
we're 9 weeks in.
Okay, fair enough.
I've shown. I think I'm not too.
You guys are related? I didn't
You've
know.
shown restraint. You have shown restraint. But I mean, another huge night.
I was going to correct, though. He did have a TD run and 2 TD passes.
Yep.
75-yarder to Coleman, and then oh, my goodness. I've just coached the kid for 9 years. The other kid that caught the touchdown pass, name has escaped me, but had 2 TD passes, and Kareem, like I said, the 73-yard TD catch from Connor. We'll pass it on to you, Hector.
Well, I get to close?
You get to close it.
You're the closer.
I'm definitely the Kimbrel of this group.
Caleb Adamas is got the other pass.
All right. Haverhill got 78 yards on the ground from Carlton Campbell on 6 carries. Andover's Tommy Duncan had a big day. Couple of TDs and 158 rushing yards. Victor Harrington threw 2 more TD passes, the freshman from Andover, including a 63-yarder to Brendan Moody. For Billerica and their win, Rob Moore, 175 rushing yards and 2 TDs. Somebody's going to tell him he's supposed to be a receiver with the name of Rob Moore, but other than that. And, of course, Nolan Houlihan, another big week, 187, couple of TD passes.
So you mentioned already. You mentioned already. You put Giancarlos on. Who amongst this would you put on the MVP vote?
My vote is for Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want Nick Mazzy.
I mean, you got to, right?
Yeah, I mean,
You
33 yards is a real field goal.
If you think I was going to pick the kicker,
Yeah, no,
this
I hear
week
ya.
and not
let you pick
I
the
was
kicker.
staying away from that.
I mean, listen. All I'm just gonna say, okay, Central Catholic, come out for your guy.
Their
Okay,
fan support isn't that usually weak?
come out.
Not at all. It's
come
kind
out
of
for your
embarrassing.
guy on the MVP vote. Like you
They
guys have
Jared-
deserved it every
They left
week.
Severio out to dry a couple weeks in a row. for
Caginelli
crying out
gets
loud.
left out to dry. You guys deserve it. Come out for the vote. Get on there. At MVC Gridiron Week, we will put up the vote right after the Tewksbury game today. And speaking of the Tewksbury game, what do you think in terms of Beverly and the weather? They're probably going to be playing in 20, 30 mile per hour winds.
Yeah, look, I think the most important thing is Tewksbury knows how to play on that field, and I know it's probably a overused type of thing, but that field is quirky,
It's the old
especially in the
Boston
rain.
Garden.
Yes, it's quirky, especially in the rain, and those kids know how to handle it.
That wind might actually help dry out the field.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, but it's going to be wet out there. It's going to,
They're so well coached.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And, this scheme, it up front, it's more about angles than driving kids out of the way. And that sloppy track helps that system for some reason. It's always good in that system. They never turn the ball over in that weather for some reason. I have no idea why those kids never turn the ball over. But, look, I think that, maybe Drake had set the tone with last week's win. The Valley, and facing a Northeast Conference team, I think Tewksbury holds the edge here.
And again, just want to say it one more time. Congratulations to the Middies on a phenomenal playoff run. Season's not over. Big Thanksgiving. You get a Week 10 game, but then you'll get the Thanksgiving game against Methuen. Great run here for Coach Rivers and the entire Drake program, and just representing the MVC huge last night against Wayland.
And we bet. We talked about the playoff system and its positives and its negatives. Real quick, Tewksbury belongs in that North Andover, Lincoln, Sudbury group.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And because there are 8 divisions, enrollment dictates they go down. That's where my issue lies with the 8 divisions. That's a Tewksbury program that should be playing against North Andover and Lincoln Sudbury in that group in Division 2. And think how good that would have been.
Yeah.
So that's my only gripe with the 8 divisions.
So one last thought though, with Drake losing,
Mm-hmm.
if they didn't, if they kept winning, that Thanksgiving Day game with Methuen could have been a non-game.
Right.
Yeah.
So as a dad of a kid in Methuen High School who was knocked out of the playoffs, I'm looking at it going, I want to see Drake do well. The MVC, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But now that they've lost, it's like, all right, now we're going to have a real football game on Thanksgiving, and that concerns me as a fan.
So you say that, Bill, and I think a couple of years ago when Central went to Foxborough and beat Zavarian down there, I would kid Chuck about, Chuck, play sophomores on Thanksgiving. Who cares, right? It doesn't matter. And he's like, no way, we're playing. And we're
Okay, that's the insight. That's why I turned to you, because I've heard some schools have done that. I haven't heard that around here.
Not here, no way.
All right, I need to. That's why I was looking to you to
Chuck
say.
was like, our guys, we're playing. Doesn't matter now. And no need to stop. They're going to play.
And not that I ever thought for 1 second that Drake would not go to win. They're a town that likes to win, and they don't ever step away. But it was a thought that I had.
Yeah, definitely matters. Thanksgiving definitely still matters.
Geography-wise, the North Andover game will be an easier game for us to get to against Lincoln Sudbury, but Central Catholic St. John's is going to be a battle as well.
You sound like my father, like Danvers is on the other side of the planet. That's my mother and father used to talk like that all the time. It's like, from Methuen to Danvers was, oh, God, pack a lunch, right? Come on, Tim, it's right down the road.
Well, so technically North Andover, we could stay in the parking lot and be there for free and video. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow, that is awful. Are you kidding?
We're
low budget still, Hector. We're still trying.
I hear you.
So you're saying you're going to Danvers?
I am not saying where I'm going yet, Tim. I'm just saying it's if the
hypothetically,
if the urge arises. Well, I don't know if I want to show my Catholic school bias by going down there. You know what I'm saying? I got to see Jake in a real game, so that would be
both at the end of the day. Both of these games are going to be set up to be a great game.
And we're rooting for Tewksbury to be that third team. Breeders' Cup pick. What are we looking at? Are you going to Seabrook today?
No.
No?
No, I'm working today. Like I said, yesterday was my day. I had a good day.
Yeah.
Haven't really looked at today, although, is it Monomoy's girl?
Girl?
That's who I think in the distaff I like Monomoy girls.
Well played. We'll talk afterwards. I know not as much as you, but I covered horse racing a little bit. So anyway, Lou.
Yes.
Final thoughts?
Another great show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were quiet today, Lou.
We were verbose.
Yeah. No, guys are doing a job. Plus, you guys know high school football. I don't know high school football.
You know a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you're all 22.
All 22, Lou.
He went all 22 a little bit today, so you had to be proud.
He's a coach.
You did. Oh, I forget the coach.
He's a coach.
Whoa. My bad. All right. Hey, listen, that's another week. Again, later this afternoon, probably 5-ish, we'll put up the MVC MVP vote. Again, huge thank you to Chris Calisi with all the graphics that you're seeing. He did a great graphic for all of the MVP winners that we'll put up on Instagram and Twitter later. But huge thank you to Chris. Huge thank you to Lou and our guest today, Gabe D'Souza, AJ Caginelli, Chuck Adamopoulos. Probably going to have to just get a sponsor for Chuck if this run keeps going, right? Great guest and great wins all around. Another great week for the MVC, showing out big time. Catch the show on demand all throughout the week on Twitter at MVC Gridiron Week. We will post it right to the top. That's probably your easiest place to get it. We're working on some stuff behind the scenes to make it a little easier for you to get to all our shows here. We'll be back next week talking the continued playoff runs.
Sectional finals.
Absolutely. I mean, good stuff. MVC keeps rising here, and we'll keep covering it. For Bill Bryant, for Hector Longo, Tim Wood, we will be back next week, Saturday, 10 a.m., MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by the Vila and Del Fusco Insurance. Have a great weekend, everybody.